Welcome back to my channel. Thank you all who have subscribed to my channel in the past. Thank you for coming back and watching my videos. If you have not subscribed to my channel, hit the button below. I would love to communicate with you, to go through this journey of sewing together. So this is part 2 of our sew along for pattern number 1 in the Golden Rule series. If you are not familiar, I actually did a video on that for the Golden Rule, but this is pattern number 1. And let's see, I still have it in here. So I am doing this shirt. All right, it's pattern number 1, this shirt. This is the second part of the sew along, and let's get started. All right, so we left off last time. Finishing up the facing for the front. So this part here, as you can see, I attached it. Okay, I understitched. Okay, I pressed it, and now I have attached my ruffle to the top. Okay, for the ruffle, I gathered the top of my neckline, and once I got through, I measured my neck to make sure it's not going to be too tight. I took that measurement, made sure it was correct for both, and then I pinned both together. All right, so using 5/8 of an inch. I'm gonna go ahead and sew neck. All right, so I have finished. I sewed 5/8 of an inch. This is my neck and my collar. All right, so once I get through, I am going to serge this together. I'm going to take an iron. I'm going to press my collar. Okay, sorry, I was looking at things. I'm gonna press it, and then once I get through, I'll go to the next step. All right, so go ahead, press that, serge that, and come right back. All right, guys, so since I have already I went to my iron and I pressed out my collar, I am actually going to top stitch my facing for my keyhole. A good way to see if you are positioned right for your top stitching is to bring it down to the spot where you want it. So all right, so when I get to the bottom, I'm actually going to pivot and go to the other side. Okay, so when you pivot, you get to the spot you want, put down your needle, pick up your presser foot, and then put it in the position that you want to continue. All right. All right. So you can't see real well, but that's my top stitching. So all I have left now is to do my buttonhole. It's going to go, my buttonhole and my button is going to go up here. And then I need to hem and put in my arm facings. So what I'm going to do my arm facings now. I am going to hem, and then after that, I'm going to wrap it up and put a picture of the final product when I get done. So for the facing, you have a back facing and a front facing. Okay. So then you want to get your back. And you're going to right sides facing for the front. You're going to sew that together, and then you're also going to sew the other end together. All right, do both sides like this, and then we'll come back and we'll actually attach it to the blouse. So I went ahead and finished the facing for both armholes. So I went ahead and did a narrow hem on the edge of my facing. So for one of my facings, I had completed both of the seams. Okay. But for one of my facings, and it's going to be the one that goes with the zipper, I only did one of the seams, because what's going to happen is that I am going to line it up with the side that's going to be the zipper, and I still have to install the zipper. Okay, so let me go ahead and pin. Didn't even see that there. Let me cut that off. So right sides together. You want to make sure that your front and your back are lined up. So my seam. Okay, I'm gonna do the other seam. This is my shoulder seam. All right, I'm gonna pin this all the way around. So after you pin your arm facing to the armhole, you go in and you sew 5/8 of an inch. Okay. All right, guys, do both sides like that. Go ahead and serge your seam allowance. You can also take out some of your seam allowance to reduce the bulk. And then you want to understitch. So to understitch, make sure when you press your seam towards your facing, and then you're going to understitch on your facing, okay? All right. Okay, so I have understitched my facing. As you can see here, it grabs a hold of the seam allowance, and I also serged my seam allowance to cut it down a little bit. I understitched my facing, and then I've also went ahead and pressed it. So the next step that we need to do is work on the side zipper. All right. So to do a zipper, you can do this one of two ways. You can take your facing and you can put it down and actually sew the zipper over the facing, or you can take the facing, leave it out like I'm going to do, and then I'm going to eventually sew my facing down to my zipper. So what I'm going to do first is, using 5/8 of an inch, I'm going to use my largest length, which is 5 for me, machine that I'm using, and I'm going to do a stitch because I want to hold this in place. So because I want to make sure that everything's going to turn out even, I'm actually going to pin this. It's not long, but I want to make sure that everything goes the way I want it to go. So using 5/8 of an inch, and also your longest stitch length, you're going to sew. You're not going to back stitch. And it's going to eventually meet the seam that you have already done previously. Okay. So I'm going to cut off extra thread because I don't want extra thread there. All right. So you want to go to your machine you want to press this open. I hear a pen. All right, you want to press this open. Okay, I wish I had a little board so I didn't have to get up, but that's not gonna happen. So my machine is way over there. Okay, and the reason why you're going to press this open is going to help you to make sure that your zipper is going to line up with your seam. And you'll see what I mean in a minute. So I'm going to actually use my fingers to press this. And only because it's such a short one. Okay. So then I'm going to get my zipper, and I'm going to lay my zipper with my zipper stopper right at the top. And then I'm going to pin this. Now, the way I do this, it takes more time, and people have, of course, a faster way to do this. But for me, I want to make sure that my zipper comes out nice. And this is an invisible zipper, so I want to be nice and smooth. In addition to that, I also want to make sure that it's even. Because a lot of times you see in garments that it is not even, and part of the reason for that is the zipper is not, you didn't take your time doing the zipper, and then you have to take it all out, and it's a lot of work. So I'd rather do the work up front. Okay. Right, so then I'm going to actually take this, and I'm still going to have my longest thread. I'm going to baste it. Okay. So then once I get through basting it, and the reason why I said you should, so I basted it, you should go ahead and press it is because I'm going to take out eventually I'm going to take out my threads. So I want to make sure that this lines up. And you also, so if this was in the back, or if I was doing a skirt, I probably would have used a piece of my chalk to close my zipper and to show where it's supposed to line up. Okay. But I want my zipper to stay put. Like, Jamesh, you don't need all those pins. I know some people don't, but I really want the zipper to stay. And like I said, you do it right the first time. You don't have to worry about trying to take out your zipper and do it again. Okay? So you're going to baste the other side. And make sure that your shirt is out of the way. So now what you can do is you can actually take out your basting you did for your seam. Now, one of the things I did, and I didn't talk about this, is that before I actually, part of what I do to get ready to do a zipper is I went to my iron and I actually opened up the zipper feet. So I don't know if you guys can see it here, but I ironed over this and opened it up. So it's easier to sew using the invisible zipper. All right, I'm trying to see how far down I need to go because I don't want to take out my original seams. All right. Okay. Now, I'm going to switch out my foot. Okay. To a invisible zipper foot. I need this. All right. I'm going to change the position of my needle. Oh gosh. My love-hate relationship with my nails. All right, I'm going to, and I know this part is probably not necessary, but it makes me feel better with my life. I'm going to take my top thread, and I'm actually going to put it through the middle part of this presser foot, so it's not just hanging out here. There we go. All right, I'm gonna push all of that to the back. So I am going to line my zipper, and I'm putting it in placement. Now, I'm actually going to start my zipper at the seam for the facing. So make sure it's lined up. And back stitch. Move this thread out of the way. next stitch. Okay, so then that's what it looks like. All right, so I want you to go ahead and do the other side. Now, once I get through, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this in. I'm going to cut this off, fold it down, and I am going to hand stitch, cut that part off, fold this down, and I'm going to hand stitch my facing to my zipper. Okay, and then we can go to the next step. We are almost done, people. So this is my finished zipper. As you can see, I went ahead and I pressed it. It's clean. And then, so I did talk about hand stitching the inside, but I learned this trick, and to be honest, I don't remember where I learned it from. But instead of hand stitching, to save a little time, I went ahead and I turned my facing into the back of my zipper, and I actually stitched right there. Cut off the edges, and then it is already done. So I don't have to hand stitch. Nice little trick that I learned, but if you prefer to hand stitch, go ahead and get that done. All right, so we are done with that. Now we have to do a button. So I need to do my buttonhole. So I'm going to switch out in my foot, and I'm also going to get the button I'm going to use. Now, the way you use this one is you take this, you put it on top of there, and it will size out the button hole that you actually need. Now, sometimes before I start, I like to go ahead and practice. So I've messed up a couple buttonholes and had to use this wonderful tool to correct my mistake. But you put it on there, put it in. Do it right. I can't get it out there. Okay. Let you press the foot down. Now, one of the things you want to make sure that you do is that you bring this down. If you don't bring this down, if you have that kind of this kind of machine, and I have a brother's, it's the Project Runway limited edition. You have to bring this down in order for the buttonhole foot to work. So I'm going to select which one I want. And I'm not doing anything fancy. Okay. So on the actual pattern, it tells you where your buttonhole should be. So this is the button, and it gives you right there towards the edge of your front seam. Well, actually, sorry, this is on the fold. So right at the edge of the front. No, this. Okay. So let it get in the position that I need it to be. Okay. And then I let down my foot and the machine do the rest. Now, I did mess up because this is definitely up further along than I want it to be. But I think it's going to be okay as far as my button. Okay. So all I have to do is sew my button and we'll be right there. Okay. Now, ways I've learned to do this is to do a small cut. Okay. Not nothing big. And then I am going to go in with my seam ripper. Open that up. Okay. You're like, this is so weird. But one, I'm not going too fast because I do not want to end up going through my seam because that wouldn't be good. I'm also going through my facing, so it's a little thick. You know, one of the things that I've been meaning to buy and I just haven't lately is something to help with the fraying. As you can see, it frays. So sometimes if I don't have it, I will trim a little bit. I'm trying to make sure I don't cut any of mine. But there, my buttonhole is done. All right, so I'm gonna hand sew my button. But I'm not gonna do that now. There actually is a button presser. There's a button foot where you can put your button in there and I'll sew it. And I all the time forget that I have it, but since I have to hand sew anyways, because I have to hand sew, you want to hand sew your facing down at the seams. So your shoulder seam, you'll hand sew this, and then your side seam, you'll hand sew this, and then you want to do, I can't find it. You want to do the top of your shoulder seam from the side that has your zipper on it. So I will hand sew that later. All right, guys, the last thing to wrap up this project is your hem. Now, there's a lot of ways you can do your hem. I'm actually, so let me pause to get myself together. We almost out of thread. So let me go ahead and do that first before I try to do a hem. Okay, so now that we got that fixed, there's many different ways you can do a hem. I'm actually gonna cut some of these threads off. So you have to pick the best hem for the project that you have. And for this one, I am just going to use my narrow hem foot and just do a narrow hem. But make sure when you're working your project that you look and see what kind of hem to do. Okay. It's definitely the proper way to do a hem on a garment to make sure that your garment has the right shape that you want it for the finished product. So I am about to hem this and then we will be done with this. Okay, now almost strange because since I've been working on this, the bottom of this has unthreaded it a little bit. So I have some stragglers. All right. So the back and the front of mine is definitely uneven. Okay, and I did that on purpose. So I am going to start with the back first and then go to the front. All right, I'm switching to front, and this is me being lazy. I'm going to take this out again. This is actually doing well, so I'm just going to put it with it. And continue with the front. Alright guys, I am going to not flat iron, thinking about hair. That is my hem. So I am going to go press this and sew my button on and also hand stitch my facings, and that's the end of this project. Thank you so much for sewing along with me. I hope you enjoyed the time that we've shared. I hope your project has come out great. Please share pictures. Tag me on Instagram if you put your picture up. My Instagram tag is right here. I hope that you have learned some things and you'll come back for more. The next time I make this shirt, I am going to increase the volume of the top so it can have a little bit more gather there, because the next shirt I'm going to make is out of a crepe and I want it to be a little bit more dressy than what this shirt I made for this video. So please, if you haven't hit the subscribe button, hit the subscribe button below, hit the notice button so you can get notifications of our videos that come out every week. And I hope you guys have a great week. See you soon.